Yo, what's going on, everybody? Los here, coming back at you with another video, and this is my recap and my haul from TerrificoN 2024. These are the books I got right here. So, if you want to know what I got, you know what to do. Hop on that train and take a journey with me into the con hall. Let's do it. All right, so we're back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that footage. It was a little short, only because during the convention, the mount that my camera sits on, or the little pocket cam, actually fell on the floor and it broke. So I couldn't basically record anymore because I had to hold it, and trying to dig through boxes while holding this little camera and stuff like that, just kind of a pain in the ass. So I kind of ditched it. So that was pretty much the only footage I got. Sorry I couldn't get any more, but at least I got something, right? I guess the beginning part of this, let me just talk about the recap of TerrificoN and some of the people that I was able to meet there, and just my overall thoughts on the con itself. So this is, I think, the second time I've gone to this con. I went to it a few years back when like Jim Steranko was like the headlining artist, and it's only about an hour away from me, and I think it's a great con. There's definitely a lot of vendors there. There's some cosplay and some other things there, but for the most part, it hasn't turned into like a full-on expo, right? Where there's only like a little corner of books, and then everything else is just merchandise and cosplay and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of vendors there. Definitely a lot of deals to be had. I know I was watching a bunch of other videos of people there, and Big Me McFly and stuff like that. Mr. Akins, what's on the comic rack, they scored some great deals. So they were out there to be had if you were looking for larger like wall books and stuff like that. But then there was also a lot of dollar bin sellers out there and stuff like that. They had a bunch of long boxes with just dollar bins and stuff. So if you wanted to, there was definitely some deals to be had. As you can see, I got a nice little stack here, basically all $1, $2 books. There's a couple not like wall books, but they're a little more pricier. They're just above a few dollars, but still got a great deal on them. And but yeah, it was just an awesome time. And the people that I was able to meet there, right? So there was a lot of other creators, content creators, that showed up to this con that I haven't met before in person. So I've talked to them online and stuff like that, but I've never actually met them in person. So we had people come from all over, right? We had guys come from Oregon. We had guys come from down south. People from Pennsylvania, like all over the place, right? And we all got together. So that was awesome. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the con, is just being able to meet all of these creators, right? Because it's one thing to see them online on camera, but it's another thing to actually see them in person, right? And it was just awesome time. Everybody was just so cool. The vibe was just chill. You have a bunch of like-minded people just talking about comics and just shooting the shit. It felt like old friends just getting together, right? There's no awkwardness. There's no nothing. It's just people shooting the shit, right? So had a great time. From everybody, I'm probably gonna miss some people, but Brandon from Mon Comics, Mr. Akins, what's on the comic rack, Joe from 360 Comics, Jeff from Comic Book Canon, Josh from Josh's Comics, Dan from Dan's X-Men Comics, Brian, Big B McFly, Dave, Mark Spector Comics was there, Ricky, All Sorts of Words, and then the 3 Men in the Basement guys were there. They had a booth set up, so Otto, Chinmo, Roger, they were all there. So those guys are great. I've seen them, plenty of times, but like, just the community in general, right? You just get this great vibe that sometimes you just don't get anywhere else, right? And it was, like I said, it was just a great time. And hopefully this can be something that we build upon. Maybe it's something that it becomes an annual thing, right? And everybody comes. I know the guys on the West Coast, obviously it's a little harder for them to fly over here all the time. But maybe we can find something in the middle, whatever, where we can kind of all get together. But I just thought it was an awesome time to be able to meet all these people. And like I said, hopefully we can do it again. The other thing I wanted to point out is while I was leaving the show, for the first time, I actually had a viewer of my channel, I guess, actually recognize me. He's like, kind of like looked at me and he's like, "Hey, you do YouTube, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Los?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, I like your videos, man. Real cool." And I was like, "Thank you. I appreciate it." It's one of those things where like you put out content, right? And you just not too sure if anybody's gonna watch it. And the fact that I'm not a large channel by any means, I mean, I put out videos sporadically. You know, just having somebody reach out and be like, hey, I like your videos, it's awesome. Like, you know, like I feel a little, you know, not vindicated, but I feel like it was actually worth it, right? So that was really cool. So I believe his name was George. It was at the end of the day when we were leaving. I'm sorry, it was kind of loud and I was spent. But I'm pretty sure your name was George. So if you're watching this, I definitely appreciate you, you know, taking the time to come over and just introduce yourself. And, you know, I thought it was awesome. You know, it made my day. And, you know, I came home and told my family about it, stuff like that. And so I thought it was pretty cool. So thanks. I appreciate that, man. And so with that being said, and that long-winded intro and review of the con, which, like I said, I think is a really good con. There was definitely a lot of vendors there, but there was also a lot of artists there. And I did get one book signed just because I knew the lines were going to probably be a little crazy. So I got one book. It was X-Men 101. It got signed by Chris Claremont. And made a beeline straight in there. Went to Capture Collectibles, which they always do a really good job. And you know, stood in line for 2.5 hours, basically in the beginning of the show, just to get this book signed. Then after that, I did some digging. So that book, I did crack it out. It was a 7.5, as you can see right there. So I cracked it out, cleaned the press to myself, and you know, hopefully you can. I'll put a picture, probably right here, of where I got the autograph done. And you know, when that comes back, we'll do a nice unboxing there, and hopefully we got a grade bump. If not, I'm just hoping that it doesn't go any lower than a 7.5. So yeah, you know, that's one of the major concerns whenever you crack out a book, is that you just want to make sure that it at least holds the same grade. So now, onto the books that I was able to pick up, because I know I've just been rambling on a little bit there. And so the first book was actually from Ricky in All Sorts of Words. So I ran into him, and he basically said that if you recognized him from the channel, that you can kind of go through his bag that he had, and he had a bunch of books and stuff, and you could just pick out a book. And so I picked this out, and it's Judge Dredd number 15. Nothing significant about this, other than just it's a funny cover, and the fact that I know Ricky likes these more like indie titles, and I think it was just pretty funny because every time I see it, I'll think that like I know I got this from Ricky. So I thought that was pretty cool. So thanks, Ricky. Appreciate that. All right, next. So starting with the vendors that I was able to find. So the first vendor, again, these are all going to be $1 and $2 books. There's going to be a couple that are a little higher, but I think it's 31 books in total, and I paid $69, so it works out to about $2.23 a book. So not bad. So first book is Batman Adventures, or the Batman, The Adventures Continue, number 2, and I believe this was the first appearance of Sonny, who's the protege of Deathstroke. I think it spiked for a little bit, and obviously the prices have come down a lot on it. But when you can pick it up for a decent deal, you never know what's going to happen with the character, especially with James Gunn taking over the DC. And next we have Alias number 2, and this is the second appearance of Jessica Jones. So again, if you're not able to acquire the first appearance, second appearance is always good too, especially if you can find them in dollar bins. And just a great, I believe this is a David Mack cover. Next we have Serial number 1, and this was a story by Terry Moore. I believe this was a character from the Rachel Rising series, so Zoe in her first solo. And there was, I think, some buzz around this when it came out, that potentially, some rumors about a TV show or whatever, but you know how that goes. But for $1, why not? And the last book I was able to pick up from this vendor was this guy right here, and that is Once Our Land. Again, this is another book that was, thought to be in, production or whatever. But it is a story that kind of takes place in the 1830s in Germany. And basically these creatures come to Earth and kind of wipe out humanity. And these are like the last survivors of the world, basically, and kind of just trying to survive in this new, apocalyptic, wasteland, if you will. All right. And as I was walking around, bumped into the Three Men Basement guys. He was selling some books, and got this one right here. So that is DC Comics Presents number 49. This is like a nice little team up of Superman and Shazam fighting Black Adam. Something that we were hoping that we would probably see in, in the movie, but didn't happen, and it's probably not going to happen now. Obviously, with James Gunn taking over and stuff like that, that's all been scrapped. But it's still a pretty cool book, and I think I got this for like $10. So, all right. So on to another vendor, and we're walking around, and this is X-Men number 12, and I believe this is the first appearance of, what is her name? Sorry for a second. Genesis. It's the wife of Apocalypse. It's also like the first appearance of Issachar, if I'm not pronouncing that right, the Unbeaten, and it's also the first appearance of the White Sword, which is a prelude of the X of Swords event that happens later on. I know this kind of blew up for a little bit, but it died down, and that's why you find it in a dollar bin. And next, you've seen this book before, and that is Batman Adventures Continue number 2 again. So found it in another dollar bin, and scooped it up. Why not? And next book, we have Legion of Superheroes number 6, and this is the first appearance of the Gold Lantern and also the first appearance of Monster Boy. Again, I know this book had spiked when it first came out. It died down since then, but again, with James Gunn doing the new DCEU, these are younger characters, newer characters, kind of, maybe a little more obscure. That's kind of like his thing. So you never know, pick it up, right? Next, we have New X-Men number 115. This is the first appearance of Negasonic Teenage Warhead. She was in the Deadpool movies. Not so much in the third one. But I think she's still a pretty cool character, and who knows what's to come of her character, if she's going to stay in the MCU or whatever. But if she does ever make an appearance again, this is her first appearance, and if it's in a back issue bin, why not? And next we have, this was just a straight cover buy, and this is X-Men number 6. It's an awesome Mark Brooks cover. I believe this is like the 40th anniversary of the Dark Phoenix saga. And Mark Brooks is one of my favorite modern artists. And whenever I have a chance to get a cover like this, I'm going to scoop it up. I love his drape work when it comes to capes and hair. Just does an amazing job. So definitely happy to scoop this up. Next, another one of my favorite artists is Joshua Middleton, and this is Supergirl number 43. He is a chameleon of artists, right? He can draw, this style. He can draw anime style. He can draw photorealistic style. His range is crazy, and I love his work. And anytime I can find some of his earlier works, I pick it up on the cheap all day. And last from the dollar bin of this particular vendor was Secret Avengers number 1. This is the Lionel Francis Yu. It's like a 150 variant cover. Awesome cover. I love this guy's artwork You know, it's one of those things where like you don't usually run across a 1 in 50 in a dollar bin, but you know, there it was, and I'm gonna scoop it up all day. And from the same vendor, they had dollar bin, a couple of dollar bin boxes. Then they had like a couple boxes that were 20% off, and then a few boxes that were 30% off. So we're onto those books now. And the first book is this guy right here, Sonic the Hedgehog number 89. And there's no significance to this other than it's a low print run, and a lot of these like Sonic books, especially like the Archie title, they're just a very low print run, and sometimes they go for a pretty good amount. So whenever you find these, you know, definitely take a look at them. Don't overlook them, because you might be just leaving money behind. Next, this was just a book that I wanted because it is an awesome J. Scott Campbell cover. So this is Daredevil number 2, but this is the variant cover, and it doesn't actually say it's a variant, so you just have to know that it is. And I believe this is J. Scott Campbell's first work on Marvel title. I could be wrong, but I think it is. So definitely happy to snag that. And the next book I thought was a pretty good, you know, spec buy, if you want to call it spec, because we already know. But it is this guy right here, and then it's Hulk number 2. And so this is technically the first appearance of the Red Hulk. So I know everybody's looking for Hulk number 1, which he's on the cover, but he's actually not in the story. He's not in the book. So if you open it up and read that book, he will not be in it. But he is in this one. So this is the book that you want if you want his actual first appearance. So definitely happy to snag this. And I believe this was like in the 30% off bin. And the last book from this vendor, I scooped this up because I knew it. I've seen it before. And I know Lettuce Comics, Hagen, talked about this on his channel when he did his 5 undervalued books. And that is Terminator the Burning Sun number 1. And this is the first artwork on a comic, I guess, of Alex Ross. So definitely an undervalued book, especially for the type of artist that Alex Ross is. He is, you know, a game changer, right? And he basically does paintings on books. You know, you see his work, and you know exactly who it is. So definitely an undervalued book, and you know, happy to have this in the PC. It's a nice high grade copy, and yeah, happy to have it. Alright, so that was it for that vendor, and now on to the next vendor, which these were all, I believe, like $2 books. So we have Amazing Spider-Man, $3.50, and this is just an awesome Doctor Doom cover. So whenever I get a chance, I pick up some Doctor Doom covers here and there, and yeah, awesome Eric Larson Doom cover. Alright, next up we have Robin number 126, and this is the first time that Stephanie Brown is actually Robin, and I think later on she also becomes Batgirl, and I think she was another character as well, but this is the first time she's Robin. Next we have Batman and Robin number 1. I know this kind of blew up a little bit too for potential show or whatever, or a new ongoing series that was coming out or something like that. This was the first appearance of Professor Pig, I believe. That I'm pronouncing that right. But it was just a book that kind of blew up, and you know, if anything were to happen again or something were to get revived, you know, happy to have it in the PC for now. Next, we have this guy right here, and there's the Invincible Iron Man number 10, the second printing, and this is the first cover appearance of the Rescue Armor, and we all know this from, the Avengers movies, where Pepper Potts actually puts on the suit, to kind of help out in the war efforts, right? Next, this was a nice one if you've watched X-Men 97, which most of us have. And at the end of it, so, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, which is crazy. So something happens to Gambit, and this is the full appearance of Gambit as the Horseman of Death. So if you watch the show and you watch the after credits, you know that there's potential for this to happen either in season 2 or season 3, but definitely be on the lookout for this one. I believe 184 is like the cameo in the last. He's in the last page of that, and then this is the first full. Next we have Batman: The Dark Knight #3, and this is just an awesome David Finch White Rabbit cover. I thought this was a first appearance. It might not be. I'll look into it a little more, but it's just an awesome cover, and I was always on the lookout for it, but people were just asking a little too much for it. But when you find it for $2, you snag it. All right, next is Madman Comics #1 from Dark Horse. I thought this was I didn't think it was the first appearance of this character, but I thought it was like the first solo, and I could be wrong, and maybe this is like the second solo, or maybe it is. I think it is the first solo appearance of Frank Einstein, which is the main character here. Just an obscure character, and every once in a while I like to pick up some obscure books, especially if it's a first issue. Alright, next we have Savage Dragon #31, and this is just a cool, God versus Devil cover. There was so this is technically the second printing. The first printing in this letterbox up here is blank, right? There's nothing there. Second printing actually says God is good, and the first printing I believe is uncensored. So there's some stuff that happens inside the book, and then they obviously censored it in the second version. First one obviously goes for a little more. I didn't, I just saw it and I kind of scooped it up really fast without paying attention. But it's still a cool book, and it's not bad to have in the PC. Next we have King Conan #3, and so the controversy on this book is that the author, the writer, Jason Aaron, used the name for his princess in this as the same name as the person as we know as Pocahontas, right? So he used her actual name as the princess in his story. And, what he did is he's like, oh, she's from 10,000 years ago, and she's a kind of a sorceress, and, she has all these powers and stuff like that. But she's kind of depicted in a very sexual tone and stuff like that. So a lot of people were upset by how he was depicting her, especially using the name of the person of an actual person. So after this, he stopped using the name and kind of switched it up. But this book still commands a little bit of money because of that. So if you ever see it for cheap, scoop it up. Next we have X-Men 16, and this is from the all new Marvel Now run. It's just a cool variant cover with the Guardians, or at least Gamora and Drax fighting Thanos. Just thought it was a cool cover. Scooped it up. That was just a cover buy. Next is a book that I always kind of had my eye out for. I just never bought it. But it's this guy right here. And that is What If #1, Wolverine Father. Just thought it was a cool cover. It's also the second chapter of What If Venom Possessed Deadpool. So that was pretty cool, but I always got this just for the cover. I just thought it was pretty cool. It looks like obviously that's Dakin or Dakin, whatever you want to pronounce his name. But just thought it was a pretty cool cover. Next, we have X-Men 92. This is the number one. So X-Men 92, number one. This is the second in Charles and Bam, or Books a Million collaboration variant. Anything with, you know, Rogue and Gambit on the cover, especially with the X-Men 97 series coming out, is always going to be a hot book. And, you know, this is no different. You can kind of see the sales on this is kind of all over the place. They could be anywhere from $8 all the way to $70. So, you know, you take a chance on it for $2. And next book, this is just, you know, a straight cover buy because it's, you know, Wolverine's Origin number one variant cover, but it's Michael Turner. And I love Michael Turner. I try to grab, you know, the books that I love from him all the time. And, you know, he was just taken way too early. There's so many artists that kind of, you know, mirror his style. And, yeah, just an awesome Wolverine cover. And funny thing with this is I went to another vendor that actually had this book for like $8 and, you know, passed on it and found it for $2 and actually in better condition. And the last book that I got from this vendor, another book that I was always keeping my eye on, just never pulled the trigger on it. But when you find it for $2, you definitely pull the trigger. And that is Deathstroke number 16. And this is just an awesome Tyler Kirkham cover, and, you know, featuring Deathstroke facing off Red Hood. Just an awesome cover. I was always looking out for this, but it was always in back issues. If I did find it for $15, $20, $25, and eBay's same thing. And yeah, happy to find this for $2. And then on to the last vendor. Walked by, they had a bunch of boxes of 50-cent books. So scrolling through, it's at the end of the con, so, you know, don't really have a lot of time, so you kind of just like flying through. And I found this guy right here, and this is Ghost Rider number 1. I'm not sure the series, you know, volume 2, 3, whatever it is, but this is the first appearance of the third Ghost Rider. She's a Mexican American woman, Alejandra Jones, and you know, thought this was just pretty cool because if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I you know, slowly trying to collect more first appearances of colors of persons of color, and you know, just trying to snag them whenever I can on the cheap. And you know, for 50 cents, why not, right? So when I went to go pay for this, the guy was like, "Hey, you know, is that the only book you got?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just got one book." And he's like, "You know what? Just take it." So I got this book for free. So, you know, you can't beat that. So definitely thanks for that. I appreciate it. And like I said, that was my haul. Those are all the books I picked up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the footage and the books that I picked up. You know, thank you to all the other content creators that I was able to meet. It had a great time. I will link all their channels down below. So if you're definitely not subbed to them, take the time and do that. And, you know, my only kind of, not regret, but just hope for next time is that I just didn't spend enough time, right? I was only there for the one day, and it would have been nice to be able to go for multiple days and just hang out with the guys and, you know, have a beer and eat and stuff like that. So I thought that would have been pretty cool. But I still had a great time, and you know, thanks, you know, to those guys, appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully we could do this again. Let me know what you guys think of the books down below, and let me know what's your favorite. Until next time, talk to you guys later. Peace.